Things just got worse and worse and worse as the night went on. Again, valiant effort down the stretch for the Bucks. Just too little, too late. Let's go down and let's see what Coach Fletch and the rest of the crew has to say. And as always, go Bulls. So let's head into the locker room right now and see what the guys have to say about that one. Wow. Where do the Buccaneers go from here? What an incredible atmosphere. What a good win for the Tampa Bay Lightning. They snapped a 7-game winning streak. How we feeling, Bucs Nation? It's time to party, baby. What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the Recher podcast. Happy July 8th, 2025. Hope everybody out there is having a wonderful day. Whether you're here in the Tampa Bay area or abroad, make sure you follow me on all social media platforms: Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, TikTok. I am everywhere. Like and subscribe to the program. Man, those subscriptions are gone. July 8th is one of those days where I know so many people who have a birthday today, including my little brother, Ryan. Today is his birthday. So shout out to my little bro. Happy birthday to you. He's going to Top Golf later. No, he does not live here locally, so you cannot go and harass him. But yeah, excited to be able to see him and the rest of my family next week. So an update on the shows. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday of this week. So no show on Friday. Just found out that we're leaving early Friday morning. So only 4 shows this week before I'm off for 2.5 weeks. Might pop on and do a show maybe in the middle somewhere, but probably not. I need to get some time away, right? I've been working, grinding for 6 months. July is when I'm going to go coach and spend some time with my family. And always remember the most important things in life, right? Family, your friends, taking care of your loved ones. So spending some time there. What a show we have for you guys today on the program. Corey Long is going to join us at 12:30 to talk all things Tampa Bay Lightning, the retirement of one Tyler Johnson. I actually spoke to Tyler Johnson last night. He's on vacation, but he answered me. Just if you saw any of the video or any of the footage that I've put out here in the last 24 hours about Johnny, he's just that dude. Down to earth, couldn't be a better human being. We'll talk about him at 12:05, but Corey Long is going to give us his 2 cents on Tyler Johnson, the Tampa Bay Lightning, and also the wild weekend ahead in wrestling. So Corey will join us there. At 1 o'clock, Neil Solondz of Rays Radio is going to hop on, and we will discuss what happened last night against the Tigers, why people shouldn't panic about this Tampa Bay Rays team as we get closer and closer to the All-Star break. So Neil, Rays Radio, joins us at 1 o'clock, and then at 1:30 today, a very special treat. Byron Cooke is going to join us live from the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Byron is the guy that I met many, many years ago when the Buccaneers played the Kansas City Chiefs in the Super Bowl. I was on air there in Australia when he worked there, and I was on air. My God, I thought it was going to be like 10, 15 minutes. It was almost an hour. I was on with a guy from Kansas City as well. We were going back and forth. It was almost an hour, explaining the rules of football, why Tom Brady was so good, why the Buccaneers were going to win. I mean, it was pretty crazy, but we kept in contact this entire time. He actually moved to Saudi Arabia, and he now hosts the first ever English-speaking morning show across the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. So he's going to join us to talk about all the events there, WWE, UFC, boxing, also Cristiano Ronaldo, the impact there. And also, I think a lot of people wonder from the outside looking in, like for many years, they're wondering, like, Saudi, is this going to work? A lot of people are maybe the IPF as well, when we're talking about golf and the Live Golf Tour. There was a lot of apprehension, right? There was trepidation of, do we really want to do this? Blood money, right? That was another coin of phrase that we heard a lot, but now it just seems like everybody is going over there. Nobody's afraid to do business there in the kingdom. So whether it's, again, WWE, UFC, boxing, soccer, Cristiano Ronaldo has completely changed the game for soccer over there. You have guys in their primes now going to Saudi Arabia because of how much money they're able to pay these players. So you're not just getting kind of the retreads and guys that are on the back end of their career. You do get guys like that, but you're also getting younger players too that can still play probably in one of the top 5 leagues in Europe. So we'll get into everything there with our guy, Byron Cooke. He's going to join us, and we'll find out how far ahead, because I think it's 8 9 hours ahead of us. I thought it was actually going to be more. Quarterback came out today for Netflix, so we'll get into that a little bit later on in the program. I loved it. Do you love it? Will you be locked in? Will you watch the entire thing? Did you watch the wide receiver one, the receiver one? I tried to. It wasn't great. We'll get into that here momentarily. Shout out to Eric Moreno. Thank you for joining the show. Always here for you, buddy. Mamona is in the house, former Blackhawk Tyler Johnson. Shout out to Karma and our guy Bart Hill as well. I was actually over at iHeart today seeing some of my old friends. So shout out to Aaron Jacobson and Nick Wise, Tommy Chuck, the whole crew over there. So still got a lot of love for our friends at WDAE and iHeart. So, yeah, really, really good stuff there. We saw some breaking news on the Rowdy side. I did not see this coming, and we are going to have Coach join us tomorrow. Steve Coleman has been the interim coach since Robbie Nielsen was let go a couple of months ago. And I was wondering, are they going to give him the entire season? No. New coach for our Rowdies, Dominic Casiato. Today, it was announced that he signed on to lead the club as head coach. He joins them after back-to-back player shields and a victory in last year's USL League One final. So this is the league right under the Rowdies. USL Championship is what they're in. USL League One is right underneath. The Rowdies negotiated an undisclosed fee with Omaha to secure Casiato's arrival in Tampa Bay. So two-time USL League One Coach of the Year. It's very exciting to be able to get him here with us. He was with El Paso Locomotive FC a couple of years ago. I wonder if he worked with Diego Luna from the U.S. men's national team. We'll find out. Native of London, 15 years of coaching experience across both America and Europe. 4-year college career at Limestone University, began his coaching journey as an assistant for St. John's in Queens in New York. So really can't wait to chat with him either tomorrow or on Thursday. On behalf of the Rowdies, we'd like to thank Steve Coleman for his hard work and dedication to the club while leading us over the last 3 months. We're grateful to have him continue to be an integral part of our technical staff. That's from our pal Rowdies president Ryan Helfrich that we had on the show before. So some news there when it comes to our Tampa Bay Rowdies, a new coach. So welcome Coach Casiato into the Tampa Bay lifestyle, and hopefully he can keep this team's playing much better over these last couple of weeks after a very, very slow start for our Tampa Bay Rowdies. So shout out to Coach Casiato. Again, we'll have him on the program either tomorrow or Thursday. No show again Friday if you're just joining us. We've got Mark Topkin joining us on the program at some point in the next 48 hours. We have Titus O'Neill possibly joining us in the next 48 hours. I've also reached out to Toby Hall. I spoke to Toby Hall. I had 2 long conversations last night. One of them was with Tyler Johnson. We'll get to that in a second. And the other one was with Toby Hall. And I don't know if you guys know this, but Toby Hall was very close with Bobby Jenks, who just passed away, Chicago White Sox closer. We spoke about it on the program yesterday. I thought it was complete and utter bullshit the way that ESPN just acted like he was just some throwaway member of the team when, in fact, he was the closer and a imposing figure, big dude, big country boy at the back end of that White Sox bullpen. And Toby joining the team 2 years, and playing for them the 2 years after they won the World Series. He was really shaken up. So I knew that Bobby Jenks was sick a couple months ago because Toby was coaching with him in the Frontier League, and we were trying to get some players up there to play for him. And Toby was telling me when I spoke to him about a month ago, when I was in South Carolina, I spoke to him right before one of the games. Him and I were on the phone together, and he was telling me that Bobby was sick and he wasn't doing so well, and Toby had to take over for him. So it's just really sad to be able to have a guy like Toby, tough guy, great dude. And it was a tough conversation to have with one of your pals. And he's been holding strong. He's on a plane right now. So he's going to be with the family. And there was like a big celebration coming up, and Bobby was supposed to be a part of that. And Toby was going to possibly stand in for him. Like, that's just the kind of guy that Toby Hall is. So if he is up for it, he's going to join us either tomorrow or Thursday to talk about the Rays All-Star game coming up. Also, his good pal Bobby Jenks and his time with the Chicago White Sox. So again, we said this last Friday, and we said it again yesterday when we've been speaking about Diogo Jota, Liverpool player, and his brother Andre, who got lost in the car accident, and then Bobby Jenks and all those people that lost their lives in Texas because of the flooding. You just never know, man. You never know. Be good to people. Mend those fences. Don't burn those bridges. I just talked to my mom and dad on my way back from iHeart, and we were talking about not burning bridges, right? Life's too short, man. Life's too short. It comes back around. It's cyclical. Look at me with coaching, right? You just never know. Now, people that I coached against or coached with almost 20 years ago when I first moved here, I'm starting to see them now at the age of 40 after my radio career. It's life is full circle, man. It really is. We got to look at the positive. We got to stay optimistic, and we got to be grateful for what we have, because you just never know when it's gone. Shout out to Nate Elliott. Nathan, you're the man. Jay, will the Rays be okay? We'll talk about that momentarily. McClanahan rehab assignment. We got to get Sugar Shade. We got to get Sugar Shade. And some also news in the NHL. Jesus, man, there's so much news. The new CBA has officially been ratified by the NHL and the Players Association, a 4-year agreement that includes an 84-game schedule and reduced number of preseason games. That starts in 2026, 2027. So the starting of next season, we're going to have an 84-game set schedule for the National Hockey League. Labor peace between the sides is refreshing. That is from our guy, Eric Erlinson, lightninginsider.com. This is why you want to be a subscriber of lightninginsider.com. So that is really great to hear, because we don't want any of the nastiness, back and forth, lockouts, strikes. We don't want any of that. Also, Shane McClanahan, triceps to begin a rehab assignment today. So hopefully Shane can join the team soon after the All-Star break. Can you imagine getting him back in the rotation, even if he's not in the rotation? Even if he's just a guy that you use him out of the bullpen, or that old Andrew Miller spot where you bring him in for he's an opener, or you bring him in the 5th, the 6th, or 7th. The sky's the limit for a guy like Shane McClanahan with the Rays. I cannot wait about that. All right. Tyler Johnson retires last night. An incredible career for him with the Tampa Bay Lightning, Chicago Blackhawks, Boston Bruins. I mean, this is a guy. When you're covering professional athletes, the majority of them know that there's a job to do. The majority of them know that, we're here and we are trying to get some information and to be able to pass it on. And, the conversations are on the up and up. We're not trying to go, especially here in the Tampa Bay area, we're not trying to screw anybody over. We're not trying to paint you in a bad light. We're not trying to make you feel bad. We're just trying to do our job. And there are few people that I've ever come across covering sports here in the Tampa Bay area that understood that as well as Tyler Johnson. And he was a guy that understood that we had a job to do, but also the back and forth, right? You can have conversations with guys where it has nothing to do with, you're not trying to write a story or anything like that. And you're not trying to get a quote. Some of my fun times with Tyler Johnson were just kind of shooting the shit outside of, the game and not talking about the game. And I remember one time we were talking about the Super Bowl, and I forgot who the Patriots were playing, maybe the Eagles. And they were going around asking everybody, who they think is going to win, who they want to win. And Johnny looked at me, knowing I was a Giants fan. I was definitely not a Patriots fan at the time. And him being a Seahawks fan, he was not a Patriots fan because of what happened with the Marshawn Lynch thing. And I remember one time he just looked at me. He's like, anybody but the Patriots, anybody. And he just walked away. And it was like the funniest thing, because that's only pain a sports fan has. And it's always unique to see that from a fellow professional athlete, because they don't do that for themselves, but they do it for other sports. And we see it in hockey with, their favorite football teams, favorite soccer teams, and things like that. And for him to have that come out, you could just tell like that. There was a lot of pain there. He's like, not the Patriots, anybody but the Patriots. And then I got a chance to talk to him last night on vacation. I was going to try to get him on the show today, but he is just like super busy right now. And he's on vacation with his wife. And he sent that out last night. And they said, hey, I know you're busy, but is there a message that I can share with Bolts Nation? And just in Johnny fashion, right? This is what he sent over to me, because I didn't want to bother him. Obviously, he's on vacation with his wife. But I just asked him if he wanted to send me a note that I could pass along to Bolts Nation. And he goes, absolutely, no problem at all. So I said, just text me, email me, whenever. And here was his message to you, Bolts Nation. Words cannot express my gratitude for the incredible support you've shown me. Tampa became my home, and it's all because of you. Your unwavering passion and electric energy at Amalie Arena fueled me every single day. I feel so fortunate to have played in front of such an amazing fan base. The memories we created together will stay with me forever, and not a day will pass without me cherishing the moments we shared. Anytime I hear "Go Johnny Go," I will think about you. Thank you for embracing me and giving me the honor of leaving it all on the ice for you. Bolts for life, number 9. I mean, that's what, and you remember some of the great things from Tyler Johnson from his tenure with the Tampa Bay Lightning. And two of the things really stick out to me. And one was that first amalgamation of the triplets, Johnny, Palat, and Kucherov. And they really took the world by storm there in 2015 when the Lightning went all the way to the Stanley Cup final before falling to the Chicago Blackhawks. And I just remember how good that Tampa Bay Lightning team was, but they weren't there yet. They weren't there yet. They needed some time to grow. They needed to learn, right? They weren't at that step yet of their development. But I just remember going there and going to Media Day at Amalie Arena and interviewing Brent Seabrook and Duncan Keith and Patrick Kane and Jonathan Toews and all these guys were Chicago. And it was, business as usual. And the Lightning, it was business as usual with them too. But you could tell they were, I don't want to say they were happy to be here, but this was the next step. They didn't look at it as they weren't going to win, but you could just tell, like, this is the sign of things to come because these guys were good. Johnny, Palat, Kucherov, Stamkos, Hedman, like there was good players on this team. And I just remember him getting banged up, and I think it was his wrist, and he couldn't take face-offs, and then Palat started taking face-offs. You knew something was wrong with him. But obviously, what he was able to do with this team for the 2 cups, and a guy that didn't bitch, didn't moan, went down and was not, necessarily a top 6 forward during the end of his tenure with the Tampa Bay Lightning. He was more of a middle 6, bottom 6 guy, but that never affected his effort. And I'll never forget some of the action and some of the effort that he had for this Bolts team, especially in the bubble when things were tough. We remember that, right? We remember the bubble and the uncertainty of the world there and watching this Tampa Bay Lightning team from afar. And we were all cheering from a distance. And I just remember that even though there was no fans in the stands and this team was battling their ass off, a guy like Tyler Johnson was still out there blocking shots, and he was out there making good passes and getting the puck in and getting the puck out and just doing the what? Doing the little things. That is what Johnny did. And he earned to have his name on the Stanley Cup twice. Like, it really, really cool. Really, really cool. And I want to show you this picture. Nobody has seen this picture because I haven't shown it to anybody, and I'm downloading it right now. I want to share this with you guys. Okay. Look at this picture. Maybe I could just share it on here. Hold on. Okay. Check this out. All right. Let me see if you guys can see that. Oh, man, I got to move this over. Oh, you can't see it with the Honest Hammer thing. All right, hold on 1 second. I'll take that off. All right, so look at this picture, okay? This is the canvas setup that I have. Enjoy. There we go. All right. So you see this picture, and I did a black and white of this entire picture, and the only color is Tyler Johnson holding up the cup. Okay. Look at this picture. How many Tampa Bay Lightning players can you spot in this picture? Okay. To the left, you see Victor Hedman. Do you see him? Then you see that guy with the fro with the Kobe Bryant. That's Matthew Joseph. Next to him is Mikhail Sergachev. You have Ryan McDonough, Kevin Shattenkirk, Nikita Kucherov. Behind Kuch is Steven Stamkos. You got Killer with his Rays jersey and his belt. You got Pat Maroon in the hat. You have John Cooper down at the bottom here. And on the right, you have Blake Coleman. And then right here, atop John Cooper is actually his son, Johnny. And then there is Tyler Johnson, who we affectionately call Johnny. What a great picture that nobody else has here in the Tampa Bay area that I took. That's actually a screenshot. I love this freaking picture. I really do. And that's what it's all about, man. That day, I remember it like it was yesterday. That day, celebrating that Stanley Cup victory in the world that we were living in. Boat parade, because anybody that tells you that the Buccaneers boat parade was the best one did not go to that. The best one was the first Lightning parade. You know why? Because there was no parameters whatsoever. We didn't know what the hell was going on. Mind you, the whole world was shut down. It was one of the first times that we were able to be outside. You see people in that picture still wearing masks. That day was crazy. And the media was supposed to have this little pontoon boat, but the Russians all wanted to go together. Nemesnikov, I think it was, was it Nemesnikov? I know for sure it was Sergei, Vazzy, and Kuch. They wanted to go together. They split up the Russians. They're like, no. So we ended up going, I think, on the boat for Vazzy. So we go on that boat. We're riding around. We were there for hours. Started during the day. Those pictures at Ray J were at night. I actually went in the family side, and I was walking around in places I shouldn't have been, but I was watching Tyler Johnson celebrate. And he was a guy that had been here, went through the ranks, playing in the minors, playing and winning with a guy like John Cooper. He is a guy that earned every great thing that happened to him in his career. He was fantastic on the ice, even better off of it. We've spoken about this a lot on the program before. Not everybody wants to speak after a loss. It's the way it goes. Some guys only want to speak after wins. Some other guys just want to, that's not Johnny. Johnny was able to speak at any time. Whenever you wanted to chat with him, he would. I can't say enough nice things about Tyler Johnson. We'll speak more about Tyler Johnson with our guy here in a bit, Corey Long. Before we do that, I want to talk a little Rays here because Johnny, we'll talk more Johnny in a second, but Rays fall yesterday in Detroit, a 6:40 start. Unfortunately for them, hey, back on the bump today, Ryan Pepio and Jumpin' Jack Flaherty. 49-42 are our Rays, 58-34 are the Tigers. And when you look back at last night's game, I want to just remind you guys that it's a long season. And even though Shane Baz, listen, he went 6 innings, didn't have to necessarily tax the bullpen, right? 7 hits, 3 runs, 2 walks, 7 Ks. They give up the big fly. But the Rays hung tough. They hung tough in there. Only 5 hits. You're facing a team that's firing on all cylinders right now. So as we go through this week, the biggest thing I would love to impress on everybody in Rays Nation is don't panic. Don't panic. If you're struggling at all, now's the time to do it. Now's the time. Because the All-Star break is upon us. You know what's going to happen with Shane McClanahan. Or we don't necessarily know, but you know that rehab assignment today, hopefully his return date should be soon. And with guys like Ha-Seong Kim and Brandon Lau not in the lineup last night, you need those guys as close to 100% when you return from the All-Star break so you can make a push in the second half of the season. We have this conversation a lot with Ian Beckles. You don't realize how banged up guys are in the middle of the season. You just have no idea unless you've been there. Unless you've been in that situation, right? You don't know. You have no idea. And there are certainly guys that are even on the team right now that are quote unquote healthy that could use a break. One of the great things about the Tampa Bay Rays for this season, one of the things that may be a blessing in disguise, is that Junior Caminero does not go to Atlanta for the All-Star game or the Home Run Derby. Now, as I say that, could things change in the next 24 hours, 48 hours, sometime this week? Yes. But I don't think it's the worst thing in the world if Junior stays home. Because don't forget, this is an opportunity for him to play in his first full season. It'd be great for that young man to just chill out, relax, recharge the batteries, and be ready for the second half of the season. We speak about that a lot, about getting snubbed, and I can't believe that this guy didn't get the call and this guy didn't get it. It sucks, and we get pissed off about it. I understand, especially in the Tampa Bay area, we get very defensive about it. But in the long run, is it better for these guys to take some time off? I think 100% yes. I mean, think about the Four Nations. That could be, I mean, it didn't necessarily impact, it did Florida. I mean, look at Matthew Tkachuk. He was out for the second half of the season. It worked out to their benefit. But listen, he aggravated his injury there. If Florida loses in the first round to the Tampa Bay Lightning, what are they going to be saying? They're going to be saying, man, I wish Matthew Tkachuk didn't play in the Four Nations, right? Same thing with our All-Stars here. If you can get a couple more days for Yandy Diaz to be off his feet and a couple more days for Junior Caminero to be off his feet, especially in his first year, I don't think it's the worst thing in the world. I really don't. And if you're looking at the second half of the season and now getting a better idea of what your bullpen is going to look like, those numbers should tick up. It's got to be better. No sugarcoating it. That bullpen has got to be better. There needs to be a clear significance of what your A bullpen is and what your B bullpen is. I know what you want it to be. I know what it could have been in the past. But when you're stuck at 14th in the league for ERA, would you consider that a strength? Again, we went from second in 23 to 7th last year to now 14th here in 25. Is that a strength? I wouldn't say that. Could it be? 100%. But is it right now? Realistically, no. That's the one thing that we have to be careful about when we're talking about the Rays. The Rays, more than any of the other teams here locally, because of whether it's the stadium or the payroll or, everything with Stu, if you say anything bad about the Rays, you're hating. Or if you staunchly defend them, like you have this pie in the sky, your head's in the clouds, you're not really paying attention. No, they're allowed to be critiqued. And especially the guys that have a good track record. Like, it's okay to say that Kevin Cash, you didn't like when he pulled a certain pitcher, or you didn't like this move when he went to the bench, or that Kyle Snyder, who many people believe is one of the best, if not the best pitching coach in baseball. Like, nobody's flawless. Nobody just goes their entire career without making mistakes, right? And if we say all of these things about Kyle Snyder and how he does a great job, well, if the bullpen, their ERA is in the middle of the pack, and we expect him to do more, and he set the bar, like he's the one that set the bar that high, not us. He's the guy that had the second best ERA in baseball a couple years ago with the bullpen. Now you're 14th. Is it just on the players? I mean, at the end of the day, they're the ones that are picking up the baseball and towing the rubber, and they have to wear the majority of it, but the coaches have to wear it too. We can't just give them praise when things are going well and not critique them when things go bad. Now, the flip side's also true, and I think that happens probably with Todd Bowles more than anybody else, where he gets a lot of the blame when things go bad and not much of the credit when things go well. So we got to make sure we keep it 100 with these coaches here in the Tampa Bay area. Give credit where credit is due. But it's okay to critique them when things aren't going so well. Doesn't mean you're a hater. Doesn't mean you're a pessimist either. Shout out our good friends at Honest Hammer Custom Builders, LLC, licensed, insured, and bonded general contractor, residential, commercial, all your needs. My guy, Russ from Honest Hammer Custom Builders, he will take care of you. 813-244-0956, thehonesthammer.com. There is the promo code right there. You can scan that whenever you please, and check him out on social media. It takes you right to the website as well. If you need any kind of project done, again, residential, commercial, nothing too big, nothing too small, our guy Russ from Honest Hammer Custom Builders, LLC will take care of you. Give him a shout, 813-2 come on the Jay Recher podcast. All right, let's bring him in. Our good pal. We talk a little bit of everything when he joins us on the program. It's the one and only Corey Long. He's in the house. What's going on, brother? How are you?
I'm doing well. How you doing?
I'm good, man. What happened in your background? I got a special fancy schmancy. There you go, baby.
There we go. It's nicer. There we go.
No, man. Here we real quick. I wanted to get this. Brandon Johnson is one of my favorites. Was at Game 3 against Montreal where he scored with 1 second left. Loudest crowd I've ever heard. You and I were both there as well. I mean, Tyler Johnson announces his retirement last night, Corey, and this is a guy I mentioned before, just a down-to-earth cat, guy from Spokane, Washington, big Seattle Seahawks fan, hated the Patriots, so you and I definitely loved him for that. But just a guy that I think was on that – he was on that wave of the new era of Lightning hockey, 2015, how good that triplets line was. What are your fond memories of a guy like Tyler Johnson? What kind of impact from you did you see with him with the Lightning in the Tampa Bay area?
I love TJ. I thought he was just an amazing story coming from Spokane. Obviously not the ideal size for a player in hockey, kind of a starter from the bottom guy.
Mm-hmm.
Was he drafted or he wasn't drafted?
Undrafted, yeah.
Undrafted, yeah. And he came from kind of like the wacky leagues out in the Pacific Northwest,
Mm-hmm.
And he turns into a wonderful player, a wonderful part of a great line that brought back a lot of memories of that, of the start of that Lightning run. And you look at everything he did in the 2015 playoffs. You're talking like Game 6 against the Red Wings. They're down 3-2 in the series. He carries them to a win, gets them back to Game 7 at home, which they end up winning. Obviously, you talk about just Game 3 to put them up a 3-0 against the Canadiens, scoring with it was under 1 second.
Yeah, it was amazing.
It was like a 3-0 or
something. Yeah.
3-0, and I'm like, someone's got to shoot. They kept around. And then you look at the Game 2 against the Rangers. They're down 1-0 in that series. He scores a couple goals, really brings them back there. And you can go as far as really, I think, which was a great, kind of a great curtain call, was Game 3 of the Cup final in 21. He scores twice, puts them up 3-0 again against the Canadiens. They eventually win that Cup in 5. So if you look at you have to look at the guy. He had just a wonderful career. Had to be just a wonderful sort of pinch me every day. I'm playing in the league. He ends up winning 2 cups. He's he's beloved in this community. He'll always go down as just a wonderfully gritty player. He was great with the media, just a decent human being overall, and a great teammate to everybody. Just one of those wonderful stories in sports of just a guy that got every bit of what he could out of his talent. Unfortunately, given the fact that he wasn't a big guy, once the injuries started coming, they just piled up. Like he never really could. It was by the time it was unfair because he signs the contract, which he earned. He played his way into a very good contract. But you knew that once the injuries started coming with a guy that size, it was going to be hard to keep him on the ice. It was going to be hard to keep him healthy. And that was, something that dogged him for, most of his, especially the second half of his career. But, he earned the contract that he got because he was a great player and a great part of that team. And he did a lot of wonderful things, a lot of things that really will live down in history with the Lightning.
Yeah. People have asked me like what the legacy of Tyler Johnson is. He's in that group that really showed this team the right way to play to kind of usher in this brand of, top tier hockey for the Tampa Bay Lightning. I don't think he'll get his number retired. I wouldn't be surprised if maybe he's a Lightning Hall of Famer one day, if he's a kind of like a quote unquote Ring of Honor type guy, because he did leave, on such great terms. He had one of the best tribute videos. They got the goal song, arguably the second greatest goal song in Lightning history, probably behind, Stammer Time, Hammer Time there. But he's a guy, I think his legacy is complete with the Tampa Bay Lightning. And he's definitely going to go down as one of the greatest fan favorites, I think, in Tampa Bay sports.
Yeah. And, I know he lives in the area. And he's going to be one of those guys similar to, to Andrew Chuck to Ryan Brett. You're going to see him around the facility all the time. Like I feel like you're going to see him around the team all the time, doing community stuff, figuring out ways to just kind of, be part of the organization however he can. And that, and we know that as we get further away from that group of Norfolk guys that came in that, led the 7 or 8 year run, that, which of those guys are going to kind of be the guys that are going to be the community guys.
Yeah.
He's going to be one of those guys. He's definitely going to be one of those guys that we're going to see pretty often over the next several years, I believe.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And I think he's not a Norfolk guy, but like seeing Patty Maroon and
Yeah.
Ryan McDonough one day, like in 10 years, it'll be interesting, like to see who's the Brian Bradley and the Dave Andrewchucks of the world. That'll be very interesting. What do you make of the Lightning offseason so far, Corey? Not as impactful, not as dramatic as what we saw last year with, moving on from Steven Stamkos and trading Sergachev and bringing in a guy like Jake Gensel, a lot more under the radar moves. What have you made of the acquisitions and the departures so far from the Bolts?
None of the departures surprised me. And the big deal for them was getting Gonsalves, re-up,
Right.
which they did. And, they've got some other contract things coming up over the next year. JJ Moser is one that I'm sure they're going to be looking at very closely. And so, they made the signings that they can make. I thought they were under the radar signings. They were okay signings, got some term for some guys. You get Holmberg for a couple years. You get, how do you pronounce it, Peltier for, 2-3 years. So, you're hopeful that those guys can find a role on your bottom six forwards, your middle six, your bottom six. And if you do, you got them at pretty good rates for a couple of years. There wasn't a lot they could do without making some major moves, and I just don't think they were in a situation where they had the major moves to make.
Yeah, and I wonder, is that going to be enough? Is it going to be enough, Corey? Because, we're watching this series and, when you see Florida, and I understand the difference in the last couple of years, the difference between the flat cap and the cap going up, but, it sucks to be able to see Florida be able to bring back Marchand, be able to bring back Bennett, be able to bring back Ekblad. And then when I know cups aren't won and lost in the offseason, but, retaining those players is big for them. And when you look at what the Lightning have not done as far as making any kind of cataclysmic moves here in this postseason, have they done enough to close the gap between them and the Cats?
I don't think that, given the situation they face, I don't know that was really possible without, again, taking a major risk and making a big move, which we know JBB is not afraid to make the big move. He thinks it makes sense. And you start to look at the top 8 guys, top 10 guys on the roster. Well, who do you trade? What do you get for them? What makes sense? How is that? Is that going to help the team move forward initially, or is there going to be a little bit of a step back before they move forward? Like how do these things work out? So I don't think they made up any ground. I think they'll probably be looking at the trade deadline, hoping that's, see where you are then, or, maybe they're kind of in a spot where they were, as I was telling somebody, there might be some value in being a wild card team that gets connected to the Metropolitan Division. It's just not as good as the Atlantic Division.
Yeah.
There might be some value in that. Not to say that you can position yourself for that, but if you end up there might be some value in that. No offense to Carolina, who I think is a very good team. But, once you get past Carolina, those things are, and even with Carolina, they're not immune to choking in the playoffs.
Yeah, we've seen that a lot.
Like you look at that Metro Division and you say, if the choice was between trying to finish third and maybe playing the Panthers and playing the Leafs and they're playing, even the Canadians have gotten a lot better, or dumping on and trying to jump on that Metropolitan side, figuring if I can get past Carolina, I might get the Penguins in the second round.
Right. Yeah.
A little bit better about that.
Yeah.
So, because you just don't know who's coming out on that side, what 3 teams are going to be on the Metro side. So there might be some more value in that. There's no doubt that that they're looking, they're hoping that the trades they made last year, the Bjork exchange trade, that those trades start to pay off in dividends this year. This is the year they really pay off for them. So there wasn't a lot they could do. They weren't fully healthy when they played the Panthers last year. Obviously, you had Hagel missing, a bunch of time. Yorkstrand wasn't there. They were already they were carrying a 6-shooter against a team that was wielding a machine gun, and it wasn't going to work out.
Yeah, and we'll see, because I feel like when you're looking at this entire season ahead, you're really not going to know anything about this Lightning team come till the postseason, right?
Yeah,
so exactly. We can ride the ups and downs and think they're going to be good, think they're not going to be good. But look at Florida; they're playing like dog crap down the stretch, and then they win the cup for the second straight year. So that stuff really doesn't matter when you think about it in the grand scheme of things. Any other moves in the NHL stick out to you? Any of them surprise you so far? We've had some player movement.
Yeah, nothing really blew me away. Nothing really. I mean, when I look within the division, obviously, Canadians getting Dobson, that makes them their better team now. The Wings finally got what they think is a better goaltending situation. I'm always, the Buffalo Sabres have always been a curious team to me, because they have a lot of wonderful young talent, and it's just like, can they make the moves to avoid that 11-game losing streak they're going to have, that 11-game winless streak they're going to have during the course of a season? And so little things like that. I definitely kept an eye on the division, and it's, teams like the Bruins seem to be, they're in a rebuild situation, but you've got the Canadians on the come up. I think the Senators didn't do anything to get worse. I feel like if the Gibson move works out, the Wings are probably a couple of games better, and it's a tight group. It really is. Once you get past, if you believe that Florida is the team in the division, which they certainly look to be, it's a really tightly packed group beyond there, because anything from 2 to 5, I think is going to be up for grabs. I certainly, even the Leafs, they were able to get Tavares back on a pretty nice contract. They knew they were going to lose Mitch Marner. They actually ended up getting a player for him, so that's a good thing all in all. That's probably more than they bargained for when they thought about it. So it's a lot of teams out there. There's a lot of teams. It's going to be a dogfight.
I want to ask you, as I was having this conversation earlier today about some USF football. We know that they have just a dogged schedule to start the season, playing Boise State, Florida, Miami. What do you anticipate early on in this season for Alex Golish and the Bulls, with Byron Brown back, I would say under center, but he's not always under center, very rarely under center, back at quarterback for the Bulls. What do you see? What's the realistic possibility you think of them clipping one of those games, possibly winning 2? I'm not even going to ask you about 3, but where do you think we're at with Coach Golish? I know it's so tough early on, but I mean, what do you anticipate to see from USF to start the season?
I'd like to see him. I think they certainly got a shot to win that Boise game to start the season. I think that's a good position for them. They're catching a team out in that hot Florida sun afternoon in August. I think they can. I think they've got the offensive firepower to hang with them. And I don't. Boise. This isn't the Boise team that we remember 10 years ago.
Yeah, Chris Peterson.
Peterson group. It's not those sort of players. So it's a very it's a very good team. Boise's been consistently a very good program, but they're not a team that was going out beating Georgia like they did 10, 15 years ago. They're not that sort of team. So yeah, I think they can win that game. I certainly think between Miami and Florida, they'll be competitive in one of those games, maybe both. Miami, I worry, is the size advantage up front might be a little bit too much for them to deal with, especially with those big tackles that Miami has and that great offensive line.
Do they have a better chance of beating Miami or Florida?
I think of the two, Florida's probably a little more susceptible, given styles make fights. I think Miami is going to really lean on their running game and lean on wearing down USF over 4 quarters, whereas Florida's got the quarterback is the big thing. They've got, DJ Lagway is certainly a very talented player, exciting to watch. But, a lot of their offense is going to be around him making plays, and maybe you catch him in a bad day. Maybe you catch him, maybe you're able to get some hits on him early and slow him down. I've always thought
who would you take between those two, Florida and Miami, if they went head-to-head?
They will go head-to-head this year.
Oh, they will? Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so they go head-to-head this year. Who do you have in that, Florida, Miami?
I think Miami's probably 3 to 5 points better at home. Yeah. I think they get the home. They get that home field sort of 5 point advantage, but it's much closer. Obviously, Miami won by I think 24 last year. Much closer this year. Much closer this year.
Right.
But I still think they're a little better. I think we'll see a better Carson Beck this year just because Miami's offense is going to be much more run-based, play-action-based. I think Georgia maybe relied on him a little bit too much last year because their running game wasn't always what it needed to be. So as long as Miami gets the running game where I think it's going to be, I think they'll get a little bit better version of Carson Beck. So I think they're a little bit better than the Gators.
Carson Beck, where do you think he would have been drafted if he would have went into the draft this year?
Ooh, third round, I would say.
Third round guy.
Maybe as high as second.
Before Shador?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't just because whatever issues NFL teams had with Shador, they weren't having them with Carson Beck, even though we also got a car stolen from him. I bet he left the keys in the car too. That's a sad thing. But I would say third, maybe second. I would assume that he would have, if he were healthy, he would have done very well in his workouts and his combine and his interviews. NFL, I certainly wouldn't have. If it's all based on play, the Ole Miss quarterback wouldn't have gotten taken in the first round. I heard you as a Giants guy, but we saw him have
I don't know what to expect.
We saw him have a mental breakdown against Florida, like literally on the field, just mentally breaking down and like, oh my God, how can I? I'm like, this guy, how's this guy going to play in the pros?
It was one of the worst crash and burns I've seen from a college quarterback. And I just go, wait a second. How did they lose that game? Like it just that was a wild. Yeah. And then Jackson Dart, who knows what his snap count? He doesn't even know what a snap count is. Luckily for him, he's playing on a team with 7,000 other quarterbacks, so it's not like we're going to see him right away anyway.
I want to see Jameis like kind of nurturing Jackson. I want to see videos of that.
Jameis
I've done like a YouTube channel of Jameis nurturing Jackson.
Don't forget about Tommy Cutlets. Tommy DeVito's still there too. You imagine that? Just do a TV show with Russell Wilson, Jameis Winston, Jackson Dart, and Tommy DeVito. Come on, man. That could be a lot worse.
It's like a new version of Entourage.
Exactly. See, people are like, I said that to somebody. Oh yeah, look at the quarterback room of the Giants. So like, they're not going to be good. I go, yeah, I don't think they're going to be good either. I'm talking about entertainment. They should do a TV show because that'll be entertaining as hell.
Who's the Vinny Chase of that group? Before we go, who's the Vinny Chase?
No, go ahead. It's got to be Russell Wilson.
You think?
Sierra.
Yeah.
Who's the weird? Jameis is the weird brother. Is Vinny?
Jameis is definitely Johnny Drama.
Johnny Drama.
100% drama over the top in every possible way. So that would make. I guess Jackson would be Turtle. Yeah, E would have to be Tommy Cutlets.
No
one cared about E anyway. He just it felt like he just happened to be the guy on the show.
I feel like Tommy Cutlets is Turtle.
Oh, really?
Maybe we have to switch it up. Maybe Russell Wilson is E, and maybe Jackson Dart is Vinny Chase.
Ooh.
Maybe that's what we have to do.
Vinny Chase was a very flawed character. This is true.
He was. So Jackson
very flawed. Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
So the entourage crew for the Giants is going to be Vinny Chase is Jackson Dart. E is Russell Wilson because he's got his shit together, right?
Yes.
Jameis is definitely Johnny Drama.
Jameis is absolutely
and
Johnny
then
Drama. Tommy
DeVito is Turtle.
Yeah, Jameis is 100% Johnny Drama because we're always rooting for a comeback. As we were always rooting for a comeback for drama, we're rooting for a Jameis comeback all the time.
If Jameis just starts going up to Lamar Odom and start asking him about his calf implants, then we know we really hit a home run there. All right, before I let you go, an incredible week ahead when it comes to wrestling. Last night with Monday Night Raw and seeing the Evolution pay-per-view coming up, Saturday night's main event coming up. What are some of the big storylines out of last night? And you can throw All In if you have anything on there as well, because I think All In's going to be amazing.
I don't watch it.
I know. I just had to throw it in there in case you watched it. All right. So the WWE side, What
They'll have
matches?
35-minute matches on AEW, and they'll all be the greatest things anybody's ever seen in life.
It's a 17-star match, but Mercedes Moné against Tony Storm is going to be good.
I would watch that.
That's going to be a good one. I think that'll be the one of the day. And also Okada versus Kenny Omega for possibly the last time. All right, WWE, what stood out to you, and what are you keeping an eye on the rest of the week?
Obviously you're keeping an eye on. I'm keeping an eye on the briefcases. I'm really intrigued as they sort of get serious about the Jade push coming out of Night of Champions, kind of where that heads. If the briefcase, I'm assuming Seth is going to continue to win, but one of the briefcases is like a loser game. Like they just lose until they just happen to shock win. So Naomi knows she's going to lose everything, lose every single match until one day she just surprises Tiffy or whoever the champion is and comes out as a champion.
She's got to screw over. Yeah, I mean, she's got to screw over Jade Cargill, right? Like, because I could see Jade Cargill winning this week, and then obviously she gets her match at SummerSlam.
Yeah,
and then she beats Tiffany Stratton, and then Naomi comes out and then cashes.
And Naomi will come out at some point, and that'll be how it's done. Yeah, I can see that happening. That's great. I'm actually a little. I'm not a Goldberg guy, so I'm kind of annoyed by the whole thing, and I hate that Gunther just looks so mediocre right now. Every way, like last week he's getting shoved down this week he's getting one punch, and it's like I want my old Walter back to just walk in and just steamroll dudes.
Put some more weight on. Put the M. Bison jacket back.
Yeah, you got to put. Yeah, he's lost maybe too much weight. I agree with that. I'm very proud of him. Vince at the time I think Vince was running. He made him. He wanted to drop the weight. The guy did exactly what he was told. His discipline is incredible. But yeah, he just does not, his hair is too nice. Like I wanted to shave his head too. Like, get kind of a Rusev kind of crew cut thing going there, like a little buzz there. Like it's just something's got to change about the guy to get him to look a little bit more imposing.
Yeah, I think he's lost some of the mystique. I really do. I think, and I get that he's a guy that taps out quickly, but I thought what happened at WrestleMania did a lot of damage to his mystique. It's not just losing to Jey Uso, but it's how he lost to Jey Uso. Tapping out on a rear naked choke. It's one thing if the rear naked choke was Jay's move, like, oh, he does the rear naked choke. This is how he finishes some people. He's not Samoa Joe, right? It's not the coquina clutch here. It was just a rear naked choke attempt. He tapped early, and everybody was like, oh, over? All right, great. It's Jay. Awesome. But I just thought it made Gunther look extremely weak. And then he had that match with McAfee at Saturday Night's Main Event. Like, I just feel like he's a guy that's I feel like
they know what to do with him, which is odd. I mean, I think there's things you could do with them. I certainly think, if all else fails, you can just throw them in there with Sheamus or Rusev and just say, hey, beat the crap out of each other and just put for 15 minutes and they'll get over. The crowd's going to love it. He can still beat up guys. That's the thing. Like they've taken away the mystique that makes him that he just beats guys up. I'm happy for the LA Knight. I'm happy that LA Knight is still going up against top guys. I kind of like this program with him and Seth. It feels kind of fresh. It feels new. I was worried about where LA Knight was going to go as a baby face. Now that his championship run is kind of past, but this is a good spot for him to be in. I like him as part of that underdog group that's trying to fight this. What do they call themselves? Like the Vision or whatever they call themselves.
I don't know what. Last night we found out Paul Heyman's name is the Oracle.
The Oracle.
And, so maybe the Vision, I guess. I don't know. I thought it was decent last night. I still think they kind of need to do a better job of when they start the show having a plan of what the hell's going on.
Well, I'm just tired of Seth coming out every show. Like building a show around Seth Rollins is just a curious choice. And not to say that I think Seth is great. I think he's a great talent.
But
I just think
Where's the but?
That's
what I'm saying. That's the problem. I love Seth Rollins. He's one of my favorite guys of all time. But in order for him to get
he's not the presence Roman Reigns is. He's not that.
But can he build that though, right? Because
he has to not be on TV every week.
No, I know, but that's what I'm saying. So if that's not working, right? What else do you have to do? Because right now he's in that Macho Man, Edge, number 2 best guy during an era right now. And their hope of putting him with Paul Heyman was, all right, now you elevate him so that you have aura. I don't necessarily think that Seth has an aura. He's got respect because he's so good in the ring. He's got an incredible resume. He's super reliable, right? People love his song, but that same aura where going out there to the ring and not having to say a word and people losing their shit, he doesn't have that. He doesn't have that now. Can he get it? Could, but he doesn't have even an aura like Dominic Mysterio. Right? There's certain guys that can go out into the ring and they don't say a damn thing and people lose their shit. Roman had it. Cena's got it. Cody's got it. Punk's got it. I just don't know if Seth has it.
He doesn't. He just doesn't have that sort of heat that just radiates off of him just in appearance alone. And it makes me wonder, you swap Seth out with, say, Logan Paul. Same thing. Just put Logan Paul in that spot. And where Logan's not going to be on TV every week. Does Logan have that sort? Can he build that sort of heat that just radiates with him being around this muscle and being pushed like this and that? And I think he probably does.
They did that with who? What did they just do that with? John Cena. Too many people were cheering John Cena. So what did they do? They put Logan Paul with him for a little while. He was getting all that heat, that residual heat. I like it. I don't think it's a terrible idea because how many legit heels are there out right now that people just love to boo?
Not many.
Not that many.
We're basically counting the minutes until Braun Breaker, till something happens there and he just becomes the massively over kick-ass baby face that everybody wants him to be right now.
Right.
There's not a lot of, you're right, there's not a lot of heels that, and it's weird because some of them are doing decent work. I thought Solo has done really great heel work. He just, but
even Finn, he makes people laugh though. He's not he's a heel, but when you're doing out there and you're cracking jokes, I like Solo now. I like Solo now more than I have ever liked him before. But that's the problem. That's not a good heel. To me, a heel should be Baron Corbin was a good heel. The Miz is a great heel. Logan Paul is a good heel. I mean, even Rusev now, right? Rusev, people are happy that he's back, but he's a heel. That's what it's got to be. And I think that's the problem. I mean, listen, if Braun Breaker's a heel, you shouldn't be barking with the fans. You know what I mean? That's not a babyface thing. It's a heel thing.
It goes to what one of the old Ricky Morton said not too long ago, is that nobody really wants the heat now. Nobody really wants to be Roman really wants to take on the heat anymore. Even the heels, they still want to be, and all of them want to be cool. They want to be cool heels. No one wants to have just the heat. They don't want to be disliked. And there was a time when being, supremely disliked was how you drew money. It was how you got paid the most. But nobody wants that anymore. I think there's certainly something to that. And I remember, and something that annoyed me, it was not too long ago, and it was during the earlier days of Seth, and I don't even know if Bronson Reed might not even been part of the team yet, but he's in the ring. He's there. Him and Braun are getting heat on someone, and I think this was the lead into Saturday night's main event, as a matter of fact. And CM Punk, Sami Zayn run around. The heel thing to do is to run away, like what he did to CM Punk 2 weeks ago. But they stood in the ring and they're just like, "Come on, bring." I'm like, "No, that's not what you do. You're heels, man. When the superheroes come out, you run away.
You're a coward.
You dare them to come in the ring so you can have a fist fight with them." And Roman never did that.
Right.
Roman either wanted numbers on his side, but if it was one-on-one, and Roman, I ain't fighting this guy,
Smart.
Boo me,
Yep. Boo me. Well, we don't boo Corey Long. Follow him on all social media platforms at Corey Long. Whatever he's doing, he's covering a bunch of different sports, and of course, with some great takes on wrestling as well. Corey, appreciate you, my brother. Have a great rest of your week. We'll talk soon.
Thanks, Jay. I always love coming on. Take care of yourself, brother.
See you, buddy. The one and only Corey. Love that guy, man. Just so great to be around him. We talk about everything, literally everything in life, everything in sports and entertainment. He is such a fantastic human being. But yeah, some great background there from Tyler Johnson on what his impact is or was with this Tampa Bay Lightning team, the legacy that he leaves here in the Bay Area. And we get that a lot. We cover these guys in the Bay, and your friend, you spend so much time around them, you're friendly with them, and you learn, right? You see them grow. And he's certainly one of those guys that, you watched him grow up, and from a dude in 2015 that was just, they were like that plucky upstart team And to go from that to a 2-time Stanley Cup champion and a guy that retires yesterday and is just getting his flowers from all across the National Hockey League, so well deserved. We are so happy that he was here in the Tampa Bay area. All right, let's keep the good vibes going, and we'll bring him in. Rays Radio voice, our good pal Neil Solondz joins us from, you're in Detroit. You're there. You're ready to roll. What's going on, buddy? How are you?
Good. How are you, Jay?
I'm good, man. Thank you so much. And, I mentioned on the program before, and you're perfect for this because you're ultimate cooler heads prevail. Things aren't as bad as they seem. And I'm right there with you. When I look at this team, I think the All-Star break, come on, we'll take that All-Star break. The Rays have really just rebounded so well after a slow start. I just love the way that they've won games, Neil, and just in a multitude of fashions. But now you hit a little bit of a skid. You walk off a couple last night. You're running into a little bit of a buzzsaw for Detroit. What do the Rays got to do over this next week or so to kind of just, all right, let's keep it steady. Let's land the plane here before the All-Star break.
You're in a period where through the course of a year, Jay, at times you're going to grind, and it's not going to come easy. It didn't look easy when this group was 21-26. And conversely, it looked real easy at times when they were 26-9. And now they've dropped 7 out of 10. And the margin between success and struggle in baseball is so small. I think there have been 3 or 4 games that they've lost by 1 or 2 runs during this stretch, and one play here, one play there, even last night, can make a major difference. I mean, Zach McKinstry, after the Rays got their first run, made an amazing throw. And I didn't realize until after the fact, that was his first outfield assist from right field for a guy who plays all over the diamond in 2 years.
Wow.
And he made a perfect throw. And if he doesn't, Junior Caminero comes up and it's a 2-1 game and you have first and third and 2 out. And then who knows what happens after that. But unfortunately, the momentum went the other way. And to Detroit's credit, they're a really good team for a reason. They kind of took it from there.
Yeah, and there's no shame in losing too. What Detroit's got going on this year. I mean, you've seen it. You've seen it kind of build up when you have Tariq Skubal kind of leading the rotation there, and career resurgences from guys like Javi Baez. And you just tip your hat. But I think it's one of those things, Neil, where if the Rays want to win this series, they got to get back to doing the little things, playing the game the right way. What has been the reason for them, from your perspective, how they've been able to turn it around these last couple of weeks from, man, they were, as you said, 21-26 to being a team that's fighting for the top of the division?
Well, I think it was a number of things. First, it helps in this game when you score first. And you can say all you want, hey, we need to score first, but they did it. The results were there. And I think because they were also, their offense was scoring in a number of ways. They did it via the home run ball. They limited the home run ball over this stretch. The last 10 games, maybe not as much. And, they also found different ways to score. They scored via walks that set up hits. They had, they're still right at the top of the league in hitting with runners in scoring position. They've moved the baseball. They've scored with hits. They've scored with outs. They've scored with stolen bases and aggressive base running. And I think they're going to continue to do that. It's just a matter of whether they get the outcomes that they want. It's hard to be, and I think still since May 20th, the Rays are the highest scoring team in baseball. But you're also going to run into teams that are going to, outpitch you. And I think during this stretch too, they probably haven't, at least the last 10 games, they haven't pitched as well as they had previously. And, sometimes you make bad pitches and they don't get hit. And when you're going 26-9, that bad pitch gets popped up or just misses. And then when you're 3-7 over a 10-game stretch, well, guess what? That ball leaves the yard. And that's what happened yesterday when Javi Baez hit a 2-run homer to give them Detroit a 2-0 lead. Took advantage of a bad pitch. And, hopefully you make just 1 or 2 fewer of those and you end up on the right side tonight.
Yeah, you bring up a great point because not last night, but a couple of starts ago for Shane Baz, when he struck out 11 and he gave up a couple of home runs, it was like, man, he hit his spot on almost every pitch, and the 2 times he missed his spot, not only were they hit, but they were hit over the fence. So that's kind of how baseball is, and it'll regulate over 162 games. What about this bullpen, Neil? When you watch what this bullpen has, unfortunately, and I look at some of their top guys in the ERA, second couple of years ago, 7th last year. They're middle of the pack this year, which is a little surprising. Now you have full faith in Kyle Snyder being able to figure this out. I mean, you look at Fairbanks and then the guys that slot in after him. What gives you hope? What gives you optimism that they're going to be able to kind of turn it around and right the ship? Because there's a lot of arm talent out of that bullpen.
I think the 35-game stretch that they had, and probably was longer than that the bullpen was throwing well. I think very similar to the way the offense struggled maybe the first quarter of the season until they got Josh Lowe back. I think, I think the bullpen is going through probably about a 10-day tough period. And some of the numbers are exacerbated a little bit when you say middle of the pack by the game that they lost 22-8. Yeah, and there also was an inning where Jose Caballero gave up 6 runs. So that adds to your ERA too.
That's
and sometimes when you have a lot of teams that are tightly packed together, you throw a position player out there and he gives up 6 runs in an inning. Well, that's going to change your ERA probably by about 1/10 of a run more than it was. And that can also quickly move you down the ladder or up the ladder if he throws a 0 a lot quicker than it normally would. So the numbers are what they are right now. I think Pete has probably been the most consistent guy, and I think the other guys just need to get where they're more consistent. I think sending Mason Montgomery down to get him almost like a mental breather and a reset was a really good idea for him. I think Garrett Clevenger and Kevin Kelly and Edwin Uceda have all had their moments. I think the biggest problem for them is very similar to what I mentioned with, let's say, some moments for the starting staff lately, where the mistake seems to leave the yard. Either you leave one less pitch in the middle part of the plate in a big moment, or maybe you get away with it. Whether it's a good team or bad team, I think the thing that I've noticed this year is all of the American League teams, and we haven't seen the White Sox, but aside from maybe the White Sox, they all can beat you on any given night. And Chicago has shown that too. So there's a lot of parity in the American League right now. I think beyond Detroit, there's not really what I would call a really complete team. They all have a lot of strengths and they all have some flaws. And it's a matter of when you get a team on a given series.
Great to see that Shane McClanahan rehab outing there in Port Charlotte today. What can we expect? What can we expect from Shane McClanahan here in the 2025 season? Is he going to be a guy that's going to take the ball every 5th day if everything goes according to plan? Do we see him as almost like a pseudo Andrew Miller role from a couple years ago, where one day he could be an opener, the next day he could pitch in the 5th, the next day he can close the game in the 9th? Like, what do we anticipate as far as what Shane can give the team here in 2025?
Probably a question that Eric Neander is better suited to answer than I. I was just happy to see that, he pitched in the game today.
Right.
And I would assume that the Rays are going to have a normal 30-day buildup for him where he'll pitch every 5th day and hopefully go from 1 to 2 to 3 to 4 to 5 innings and then see where he's at. And, I think the fact that he has said he feels a lot better, and that the fact that was it a week or so ago, he posted some video on Instagram. I think usually when you start to feel good and you do that, it says something about your mindset. And I think, look, if Shane's at his best, we know how good he is. He's one of the best left-handers in the game. I don't know in terms of what to expect. I just want to see him healthy and playing again. I think because no matter what the role the Rays put him in, I think he'll be an asset going forward. And if it's July 8th, if in a month after a 30-day rehab, he feels good to join the Rays, it's almost like a big trade acquisition. So
yeah, I love that. It's almost, you don't have to give anybody up, right? Which is a great thing. I know some people talk about, we'll trade this guy, trade that guy. I'm always very weary on trading anybody, especially starting pitching. A guy like Zach Littell is a name that comes up, but I wouldn't be so quick to get rid of a guy that's just an innings eater and he's just a battler, right? I mean, that's the kind of guy you want to go to war with because he's very low maintenance. He's a guy that's going to go out there and just give you a chance to win. So I don't want to speak for you, but I wouldn't be so quick to get rid of a guy like that.
Well, I would just say you can never have enough pitching. I don't. You're going to hear rumors the next 3 weeks on probably every player from every team. Mm-hmm. That's just the way it goes generally, other than maybe Aaron Judge. I mean, every player in baseball, you're probably going to hear some rumor about, and you take them with a heavy pound of salt rather than probably a grain of salt, and know that most of them aren't going to be true. And it's up to the players to hopefully have a really good rest of the month of July and put this team in a position where they have a chance to add if there's an opportunity to add. I mean, we really don't know what the market's going to be like because, as I sit here, I don't think any team in the American League East is eliminated as far as I'm concerned. Mm-hmm. Even Baltimore, they just swept Atlanta. What if they get on a little run going to the All-Star break and they get near 500? I think with the last wild card is only 6 games over. So, it's not an extremely high bar to get yourself back in the playoff race. So how many teams are truly sellers at the deadline? We don't know. So because of that, it's probably going to be a lot of last minute stuff as it was last year. Who's buying, who's selling? Certainly, I hope the Rays are in a position where they, I think if they stay healthy, I said this early on in the year. I said it when they were 21-26. I said it when they were winning. And I say it now when they're in a little bit of a tough stretch. I still think they're a postseason team if healthy.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And I'm just kind of looking at some of the standings here. Like, nobody's out of it. You're right. 9 games under for the Orioles. I said earlier this week, if they get around 4 games under 500, they're going to think they have a shot at this thing to be able to bounce all the way back, even though their run differential is as bad as it is. And man, it's so crazy to see the Blue Jays vaunted all the way up to first place now, 3.5 ahead of the Yankees, 4 ahead of the Rays. What do you make of the infield? I'll leave it open there. Brandon Lau, and obviously, we'll start with the All-Stars, Brandon Lau and Jonathan Aranda, and then what you've seen from Junior Camarano this year and the bounce back from Yandy Diaz. Another slow start for the second year in a row. He just gets right back to it. Hey, I'm not going to freak out. I'm going to take my walks. I'm going to hit the ball the other way. And all of a sudden you look up, he's batting 290 again. It's like, yeah, just take next April off, man. We'll meet you in May. But I mean, the offense, especially from these infielders, have really done a lot of great work this year.
Yeah, I mean, let's start with Jonathan. He's an awesome story. This is a guy who really persevered, was as dominant as any player in AAA for a stretch over 2 years, and it hadn't translated. And then he got hurt last year. His last month last season, though, was kind of a glimpse of, hey, this is what it could be. This is what he looked like. And he's carried it over, and he's been maybe not only the most consistent offensive player for the Rays, but one of the more consistent offensive players in the game. Yeah. And truly deserving of an all-star nod. And, I think Kevin Cash said this yesterday about Brandon, that he has been a leader in the clubhouse, and also he's performed on the field. And I think in the case of he and Yandy, who also is having a really good season, both of them ran into what I thought was a lot of bad luck early. They had some balls knocked down by the wind at Steinbrenner Field. They seemed to hit line drives at people every which way the first, 3 weeks, and their numbers started to kind of look like, hey, they're not performing well. But under the hood, you saw the hard contact they were making and think, okay, if they keep having good at-bats, eventually this is going to turn. And for both of them, it did, and it really ignited the rest of the group. In terms of a junior, I think that he's probably, at least to this point of the year, performed slightly above the goals that I would have thought were reasonable. I thought, hey, if you're playing a first full season and you're 25 and 80, 85 with, close to a, 780, 770 OPS, that's pretty good, for a guy who's only 20 in his year 21 season. And to this point, he's performed well above that. Who knows how the last 70 games will go? You never know how a guy at that age is, does he get fatigued because it's his first full season and he hasn't been through that grind before, or does he continue to get better? And that's going to be part of a really fun story. He certainly is deserving, if there are any guys who can't play in the All-Star game, of being an All-Star this year. And, I think he certainly has a very high ceiling going forward. And, I don't want to overlook the guys who have played shortstop while the Rays have waited on Ha-Sung Kim. I mean, Taylor Walls has had more defensive runs saved than more than half the teams in Major League Baseball, and that's legitimate. I mean, that's, and I think by WAR among the Rays position players, he's second behind Aranda. So that shows you that even though he has not been, to his expectations offensively, he's been really good defensively. And I think for the most part, while he's had a couple of tough days and he's battled there in Jose Caballero, he's done some really good things as well. And he's leading the major leagues in stolen bases again. So I think all the Rays infielders have really contributed in a big way.
Yeah, I want to ask you before I let you go, and great stuff there on Taylor Walls. I think he's actually swung it a little bit better here in the last couple of weeks. I mean, he just gives you a professional at bat. I know he seems to be the guy that comes up every time there's a big situation. It doesn't matter where you bat in the lineup. Baseball seasons are like that, right? The same guy seems to come up every single time. Bases are loaded in the ninth inning. But what do you anticipate? Obviously, we just saw a little bit of an appearance for Kim, but what do you anticipate for him? I know Kevin Cash says that, they're anticipating him being the shortstop, but how do you kind of decipher, with Meade being sent down, how they're going to shuffle around that playing time with Kim, with Walls, with Caballero?
Well, first, I think it's a matter of getting healthy. You know, we talked about the All-Star break coming at a good time. You know, I certainly hope Ha-Sung is able to go today, if not tomorrow, with the calf issue that he had in his first game. And then I think Brandon Lau, you know, he missed yesterday because of a side issue. So I think some of that usually takes care of itself. You hope that they can all be healthy, and you also hope that a 4-day All-Star break after these 6 games really helps the group going forward. But, you know, I trust Kevin does a really good job of keeping everyone engaged and everyone involved. And, you know, I think they're going to be smart in terms of Kim and making sure that, you know, checking in with him daily, and the communication's always good about, you know, how he's feeling. And I think it goes for the entire group. And they'll find ways to get Walls on the field and Caballero on the field and maximize matchups, because that's what the Rays are really good at. So, you know, I trust that group just as I would if you know, and I don't know where things stand with Johnny DeLuca or Richie Palacios, but if those guys got healthy and the Rays had some you know, guys who were on the mend that they could add to the group, whether it's there from the outside, you know, who knows? I think they're going to be always able to put themselves in the best position to win, because, I mean, that's what Rays baseball is really good at.
Yeah, they do. They do so much with not as many resources, and then they do a really good job when they end up getting some of those resources back, being able to delegate that time, because there's so many versatile players that can contribute to this lineup. Neil Solondz, Rays Radio. Doesn't matter if he's with Chris Adams-Wall or our guy Andy Freed, doing a fantastic job. Neil, always great to be able to catch up with you. Continued success and a great job on the Tampa Bay Rays Radio Network. Thanks a lot, man. I appreciate it. Have a great rest of your week, and safe travels back to the Bay Area. Thanks.
Thanks very much, Jay. Anytime.
You got it, buddy. Neil Solondz, a wealth of knowledge. Just when everybody freaks out about the Rays going, like, he is the voice of reason, so even-keeled, so calm, cool, and collected. Very, you know, symbolic of, you know, our coaches here in the Tampa Bay area, and guys like Kevin Cash and Todd Bowles and John Cooper. When everybody goes crazy, I'm guilty of it too, man. I'm guilty of it as well. Getting a little crazy sometimes and overreacting, but hey, it is what it is. But Neil does such a great job on the radio side. So really, really happy that he's able to join us today. Guys, have I told you about my friend Honest Hammer? Of course I have. He's the man, our guy Russ. Check him out today, 813-244-0956. You see it right there. Licensed, insured, and bonded general contractor, residential or commercial, 813-244-0956. You see the QR code right there as well. This is a guy that can help you. You got any type of questions, comments, concerns, you need some renovation done, this is the guy for you. He is going to be able to help you out. Just give him a shout. 813-244-0956. Pre-engineered metal buildings, bathroom remodels, kitchen remodels, interior and structural renovations, new construction, commercial construction. You just have a question? Hey, somebody point me in the right direction. Give him a shout. 813-244-0956. Honest Hammer, Custom Builders, LLC. Russ, he is a guy just like you. He's a Tampa Bay sports fan. He's a longtime listener of WDAE. And here on the program, our first big-time sponsor on the show, you want to be able to support local. Russ is one of those guys, and our friends at Honest Hammer, Custom Builders, LLC. Again, scan that QR code. Visit them at thehonesthammer.com or give them a call, 813-244-0956. Tell them that you heard it right here on the Jay Recher podcast. Love that guy. Really good dude. Neil Solondz. All over it, man. He is all over it. Really, really good stuff there. If you're just joining us, make sure you follow me on all social media platforms, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, TikTok, Instagram. I am everywhere. Like and subscribe on YouTube. And shout out to Jeff Taylor. Hit me up with the super chat yesterday. $1, $2, $5, $10, $20. You guys want to keep this podcast going, contributing via the super chat. Your donations is one of the ways to keep that rolling. You know, any businesses that want to sponsor the Jay Recher podcast, like the Honest Hammer, give me a shout. Jay Recher 10, JAYRECHER 10 @yahoo.com. Shoot me an email and we will go from there. Yeah, we're having a lot of fun here. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday of this week. Again, no show on Friday because your boy's a little busy because I'm traveling. I'm going to coach, and I will be in Alabama this weekend, in Hoover, Alabama, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. Tuesday, I fly out to New York for a week and a half to spend some time with the family. And then when I fly back on the 24th, I meet our Hit Factory guys in North Carolina because we got a tournament or showcase up there at Gardner-Webb University. So, a lot of things going on here in the J Recher world. But of course, we're doing the podcast here today, Wednesday and Thursday. Excuse me. If you just joined us, Titus O'Neil, Mark Topkin is going to join us on Thursday, no doubt. Still waiting on Titus O'Neil. Still waiting on Toby Hall. I got a couple of other irons in the fire as well. Oh, yeah. New coach is going to join us as well. Tampa Bay Rowdies' new head coach, Dominic Casiato, will join us on the program probably on Thursday. So you don't want to miss that right here on the J Recher podcast. Today, a new show debuted on Netflix called The Quarterback. And if you remember Quarterback the first time it came out, it featured Marcus Mariota, it featured Kirk Cousins, and it featured Patrick Mahomes. And wow, what a good show. I think overall people were supremely happy with how it came out. I thought it gave you a real glimpse behind the scenes on a couple of things. First, we'll start with, Marcus Mariota in Atlanta losing his job to not Felipe Franks. Who was the quarterback? Oh my God, I can't think of his name right now. Why is it escaping me? Somebody help me out. Who was the Falcons quarterback that was the quarterback after Marcus Mariota? Desmond Ridder. I knew it. And that whole saga, which was crazy, just like boom, disappeared. Then Kirk Cousins and Family Guy, Minnesota Vikings, Kevin O'Connell. What an incredible coach and play caller he is. We learned a lot in that series. And then also Patrick Mahomes with him and his wife and his family. I thought they did a really, really good job. They tried to duplicate that with the receiver series, and it wasn't the same. I watched it. It just didn't have that same hook, didn't have that same appeal. And now they're coming back again. Quarterback season 2. It dropped today with Kirk Cousins and the whole saga. They're in Atlanta with Michael Penix Jr. And we're going to hopefully, because I saw the article today from our pal, Mark Raimondi, who wrote the book on the NWO. He wrote the article about this today. And he said that Kirk Cousins felt misled and that he might have re-signed with the Minnesota Vikings last offseason had he known the Atlanta Falcons would draft a quarterback in the first round. So, I mean, we saw this coming. And we know Kirk wasn't 100%. We know that he had his struggles last year against everybody except the freaking Buccaneers. But teams don't do that. You're wasting resources because now you're wasting whether it's draft pick, whether it's you're part of your salary cap. You can't do that. It's very, very rare that you have an opportunity to miss a pick like that or to miss a signing like the Eagles did last year with, who was it, Bryce Huff? It doesn't happen. I mean, you could say the Buccaneers went through that drafting Kyle Trask, right, in the second round. And is it going to impact them as much as the whole Penix Kirk Cousins thing? No, because you're not, investing a first round pick and you're not investing all the money that you invested in Kirk Cousins. But who's to say that the guy that they drafted in that spot instead of Kyle Trask helped this team win another game or two, helped this team make another step in the postseason? We don't know that. But we can say that it has effect, and we don't know how much, but it has because I've won the Super Bowl since they made that selection, right? So certainly something to be aware of when you're looking at and you're trying to grade these teams out. But I'm excited. Are you guys excited? Are you going to watch Quarterback, the documentary on Netflix about these 3 NFL quarterbacks? Let me know. Questions, comments, concerns there at the bottom. And the guys that they're following this year, I mean, it's going to be fun. Obviously, Kirk Cousins is one of the guys. Joe Burrow is another one of the guys as well. And then the third player is Jared Goff. So you have Goff, who I think this is a really, really cool thing from him because Goff is a guy that drafted, high draft pick for the Rams, took them to the Super Bowl, but it always felt like he took a lot of the heat when they didn't play so well, and it just seemed like Sean McVay needed a quarterback that was going to be able to run the offense the way he wanted to. You go and make that trade with the Detroit Lions. You bring in Matthew Stafford in, and boom, Stafford leads the team to a Super Bowl. Now, I know Aaron Donald and a lot of the other guys contributed to that as well, but it's hard to say that McVay was wrong in his assessment with Jared Goff, even though Goff has been a really good quarterback, but he has not gotten back to the Super Bowl, right? He's played really well in Detroit, and I think they've wrapped their arms around him and they've embraced him in a big way. But has he lived up to that number 1 overall selection? Maybe. Maybe not. I look at him and Baker Mayfield. They're in very, very similar spots. Both number 1 overall picks. Both, not on their original team. Would you rather have Baker Mayfield or would you rather have Jared Goff? Because to me, Goff is a guy that when he goes off platform and he has to make plays on the run, I don't know if that's his strength. But, man, when he's in rhythm and you're running the football and you're running the play action, like he's a guy that does a really, really good job of operating within the offense. So, I don't know. I probably still would rather have Baker. I really would. Jeff Taylor, happy Tuesday, Jay and all. How much do you buy into the post-home run derby decline in production? Also, what's your favorite home run derby moment? Sosa breaking the scoreboard in Milwaukee is still amazing to me. Jeff Taylor contributing via the Super Chat, $10. Jeff, you are the man. Thank you so much. Anybody else out there that would contribute to the Super Chat, you get right to the top of the line, and we talk about whatever you want to talk about today on the program. I do buy into the post-home run derby decline in production. I actually did the study. I have the paper somewhere of guys in their first and second time entering into the home run derby and what their stats were in the first half and the second half of the season. And a lot of guys took a dip. And it's not just because of the swing. I think a lot of it is because you're exerting a lot. You're exerting a lot of energy in the competition, but not just that. You're also exerting a lot to get there and to leave and all the festivities. You're not resting and relaxing. I know they could be flying private. I know they could be flying first class. I understand that. But you know what they're not doing? They're not relaxing at a beach. They're not taking care of their body. They're not mentally getting away from the game. A lot of that plays into it too. Not a lot of people mention that, but it's just a fact. So what's my favorite home run derby moment? I got a couple. Tino Martinez winning it was big. Mark McGwire, what he was able to do. I think Josh Hamilton at Yankee Stadium was really cool. Robinson Cano hitting the home runs with his dad. Bryce Harper being able to do that, what Pete Alonso was able to do. It's a lot of great home run derby moments. I've enjoyed a ton of them. Benny, how come post home run derby doesn't? Because Vladdy's a different cat. He's a guy that, goes against the grain. I'm not ever going to be able to look at a guy like that and think, he's going to be doing what everybody else does, because Vladdy Jr. is one of one. But a big thank you to Jeff Taylor. $10 via the Super Chat. You are the man, Jeff. If you guys want to contribute via the Super Chat, feel free. $1, $2, $5, $10, $20. Every little bit helps. You want to keep this podcast rolling, that is one of the ways to do it. Our guy Byron Cooke is going to join us here in a bit. Byron from all the way in Saudi Arabia, host of the Byron Cooke Show, weekdays morning 6 to 10 a.m. on the MBC Loud FM network in Riyadh and Jeddah and Dammam. This guy, you want to talk about taking a leap of faith. He left Australia to go to Saudi Arabia, and man, he's just, what a super talented guy. And he's going to give us an update on everything that's going on over there in the kingdom of Saudi Arabia, because so many events are over there. And I want to ask him too, guys, because I don't know about you guys, but there was some apprehension, right? We heard this from a lot of different sports entities of traveling over there and what this entire thing entails. And we don't know, right? But he's there, so he can tell us, he can give us a firsthand account. And he's also joining us before he goes to sleep because he's got to get up. And I want to know what the time difference is. I think it's 9:30 over there, so we're like 8 hours ahead. And he does the morning show. So for him to be able to take some time and to be able to join us on the program, we're super thankful for that as well. Again, only on Wednesday and Thursday after today. No show on Friday, and then it'll be gone for the next couple of weeks. So if you guys want to get in those super chats over the next couple of days, that really, really does help. Follow me on all social media platforms at Recher. Yeah, some really, really good stuff. Doug Wechter, spoke to him yesterday after the show. Some of the technical difficulties, go check him out at colliers.com. Search Doug Wechter. And, of course, Ian Beckles joined us on the program yesterday. We talked about the 3 best players on the Buccaneers right now. Go check out the folks at the Dignitary Cafe, 4817 Southwest Shore Boulevard over there in Tampa on the corner of Gandy and West Shore. Shout out to Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch. It looked like their home was broken into in California at 3:30 this morning. God, man, you just never know. You never know. Take care of yourself, man. That's one of the scary things, man. It really is. You're looking and you're going ahead and you're like, oh yeah, everything's good. My life is well. I have this big house. I have all these things. And then boom, something like this happens. You get petrified. You're like, oh my God, this is terrible. This is terrible. Yeah, so we'll go from there. Corey Long, O'Neal Cruz officially joins the home run derby, so he'll be in there with some of the other big names in sports. I really do not want Junior. I don't want Junior Cabanero anywhere near the home run derby. I just want him to rest. I want him to relax. Don't do too much. I don't want anything. Nah, I'm good. I am good. Take a break and relax. Let me text our guy Byron. Tell him that we're ready for him. Yes. I'm ready for it. Hopefully it'll work on his iPhone. Awesome, man. Will this work on iPhone? We're going to find out today. We're going to find out if this is going to work in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Byron's got a great accent too, man. You guys are going to love this guy. Make sure you follow him on all social media platforms at Byron Cooke, ByronCooke, Saudi's #1 hit music station. This is a guy that took a chance, leaving his home, going to the kingdom, hosting the first ever English-speaking morning show in Saudi Arabia, and how much things have changed over the last couple of years. And it was almost taboo to go over there, or even talk about going over there. And now we see so many different events between the UFC and seeing the boxing world and the WWE and the 10-year contract that they signed with them, and just all of the different comings and goings. Our good pal Titus O'Neil told me about it over there and how safe he felt, because that's the one thing you're worried about, your safety. You're wondering, like, I don't know what's going to go on here. But there you go. I mean, everything looks great. Everything looks like everybody's having a good time. And now with Live Golf, right, that's another aspect of it where people were wondering, all right, what's the deal with Live Golf? Where's that money coming from? People don't really talk about it that much anymore, especially with what happened with the PGA Tour. That was that big battle. Right? Where's this money coming from? Where's the competition? Guys like Jordan Spieth and Justin Thomas, and of course Rory McIlroy and Tiger Woods fighting for the PGA. And then Jay Monahan is doing all this shady stuff, the PGA Tour commissioner, behind their back. And I just want to see those guys back on the tour. I want to see those guys back playing at the Valspar. I hate not being able to see Bryson DeChambeau and Dustin Johnson and Patrick Reed and Joaquin Niemann. Like, I want to see these guys teeing it up in these PGA Tour events. I don't want to see them just in majors. I want to see them at the John Deere. I want to see them at the Valspar, right? I want to see them at just all these different tournaments that we all love. And it means a lot. It means a lot to the local communities to have more and more. These events are huge. I mean, look at what the financial impact, just the overall impact the Valspar has on our Tampa Bay community. Right, all the hotels and just all the tourist attraction, like it's huge. It's huge. The concerts every year. I mean, Tracy West and the entire Copperhead crew, they do such a wonderful job of promoting that entire thing, and we got to keep it going. Those big names showing up to the Valspar is huge every season. To have Justin Thomas, to have Jordan Spieth there. I mean, now you get the opportunity last year to see Victor Hovland win. That's a big name. You want those big names to be able to show up and to be able to bring more eyeballs. I'll never forget the Tiger Woods appearance there. That is, that's one of my favorite moments of covering anything in sports is Tiger Woods and having a conversation with then Channel 10 field anchor and TV sports guy, Justin Granite. And just having a conversation with him, and then literally 5 minutes later going, what the hell is that? And you turn around, there's thousands of people behind you. Not hundreds, thousands. I mean, it must have been 5,000 people. It went from 6 or 7 of us on this stage, nobody behind us, to turning around and seeing hundreds of rows of people. It's just, I've never seen anything like that. People as far back as the eye can see. If you're there on I think it's the 10th green or the 10th tee box, and is the first tee box in the 10th? Yeah, right there when you can go 2 separate ways. And people were all the way down on each side, all the way down. I'm talking hundreds and hundreds of feet. It was incredible. Incredible. It's a moment I won't soon forget. And that's the power of Tiger Woods. That aura is really unlike anything else that you're ever going to see. And that's the great thing about sports, man, is you get these guys, they have this aura, and it just supersedes anything that they ever say. All right, let's bring him in all the way from the kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Let me just make sure we have everything good here. And we do. It's our good friend, Byron Cooke. What's going on, buddy? How are you?
Salam alaikum to you, Jay, from Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. I've been here now a little over a year, and it's lovely to talk to you, my friend.
Yes, and I told everybody about your background before you hopped on with us. So happy for you, for your success. I didn't tell everybody how we started, how we met, and it was originally a couple years ago when the Bucks played the Chiefs in the Super Bowl, and I hopped on the air with you guys in Australia down under to explain pretty much the Super Bowl. And it was just and we were almost on air for we almost did an interview for like an hour. That was a lot of fun, man. It really was. I still think about that very fondly.
Oh, well, thank you, Jay. And it's the radio and podcast family, isn't it, all over the world? And hopefully we all are there for each other on each other's shows. And that continues tonight with you. That was interesting because you had a pretty good product to sell. I remember the purpose of that show was to sell the Super Bowl to an Australian who maybe only knew about the halftime show, if
right.
That. And it was kind of like your job, along one of our friends in Kansas City, I believe, because the Chiefs were playing, to sell it into Australia. And you did a great job. As I say, you had a pretty good product to sell. You did very well, and maybe you helped boost the ratings in Australia for the Super Bowl that year, Jay.
Yeah, buddy. And you know what? The ratings on your show probably went up, and then boom, you get this opportunity. Tell everybody what that thought. I'll take all the credit for you going there. What was that thought process? What was that thought process like for you, right? You're getting this opportunity. They're doing something new in the kingdom there. You're going to get your name on this show. You're going to be the first English speaking morning show right there in Saudi Arabia. Like, I mean, what goes into that thought process? It's got to be tough to leave, friends and family there. But I mean, my goodness, what an opportunity to be presented.
Yeah, Jay, there's this thing, and I urge your community to look it up. It's called Vision 2030, and it is truly a vision for where this country is going, and it's very real. It's not just pictures on the internet. I see it every day. I drive past the progress every day. I see it right in front of me. This country has a vision, and we're driving towards 2030. And of course, in the sports context, 2034 for the FIFA World Cup. There are a lot of things in the not too distant future that have to be ready. And the country is quite literally under construction, and it's being done in a sustainable way, in a smart way, and with local people and international people that come in and lend their expertise in certain areas. And for us on NBC Loud, we represent a growing portion of the country that is curious when it comes to Western culture, if you will, pop culture, English language. So it's a growing sector here, and it's a thrill to be part of this, and it'll just keep growing. We find a lot of local Saudis are enjoying the program. They like the energy of what we do. It's a little different to some of the Arabic stations and the way they go about radio. So, look, we're just driving something new and different. It's been done in other parts of this region. It's been done very successfully in the UAE, in Dubai, with a station like Virgin Radio, which is hugely successful, and other markets as well. But it's the first time we've done it here in the Kingdom. So, yeah, the process really was looking at Vision 2030 and saying, hey, this is a chance to actually be part of something that's bigger than radio or bigger than pop music. This is a cultural movement. So it was a real no-brainer for me, to be honest, Jay. I was very excited, and my family are all over the world. And so whilst, yes, I'm leading some family in Australia, my family in Europe by living here. You know, when you live in Australia, Jay, Saudi Arabia feels close to a lot of places because Australia is so far away from basically everything.
Yeah, that's a great point, man. And your son he moved now? He's in Paris now? I've been following along. Because he used to live in New Orleans last time I talked to you. Where's he at now?
Well, my son is a sports nut who
he is.
Careful, he'll come for your job, Jay. He loves his sports. He's 17 now, mind you.
Wow.
Grew up in Los Angeles. So he's got a bit of a West Coast bias with his American sports teams, but he went traveling around the world with his mother, my ex-wife, and he was backpacking for 4 years, Jay, and he worked off of a laptop. He did an American program known as K-12, which is remote learning, and he's been to something like 150 cities backpacking with his mum, and I would join them whenever I could for different adventures around the world. And when it got to COVID, they were back there in the US, and he said to his mum, hey, when all this ends, can we just go and live in Paris, please? And she was wild enough to say, yeah, okay. And they found a way to do it. He loved Paris, and he's always been a fan of the PSG football team that have had so much success lately.
Yeah.
So he found himself in Paris. He's been there for 2 years. He now speaks fluent French. So he's this American kid living in Paris with a dad that lives in Saudi Arabia. So, you know, he's all over the place, but he's a happy young man.
That's awesome. 17 years young. Please send him my best. That's so great to hear. I want to ask you about the stigma of Saudi Arabia, because I have a good friend of mine, Titus O'Neil, who's in the WWE, and he's come on the show before, and he said, listen, all that stuff you hear, like, I feel very safe over there. Everything is very clean. What do you say to those people that have that apprehension, Byron, about Saudi Arabia, and they hear about all these terrible stories and how, they treat women and things like that? Because that's one of the things that I think holds people back from being full-fledged in support of everything that's going on. But I feel like there's a lot of sporting events, especially, that are trying to bridge that gap and trying to kind of turn over a leaf over there. What do you say to people when they bring up those concerns?
Look, the Vision 2030, I keep coming back to it, Jay, and it is a very real thing. And this is not just about building things. This is social change. There's been a lot of movement in the culture. I look around my building at NBC, which is a big media business, the biggest media business actually in all of the Middle East and North Africa. There would easily be as many women in my building as men, many of them in executive positions, which is standard in media in Australia as well. I see change everywhere. Look, yes, by all means, look at a history book and you'll see that, or maybe as recently as 2017, women didn't drive vehicles here in the Kingdom. That was a shift about 7 or 8 years ago, along with so many other shifts.
Right.
And it feels like a lifetime ago, I think, for a lot of local women here. But we're seeing a modern, exciting nation just continuing to grow. As far as the safety message, that is just factually correct. I mean, this is the safest country I've ever been in. Right. We have no crime issues whatsoever. And a lot of that stems from the religious values of the people in this part of the world, the ethics, the values. It's a peaceful place, and there are opportunities for everyone. And, Jay, I moved here a year and 2 months ago, and so I see what I see, and I see nothing but positivity. And anyone that's considering a sports trip to Saudi Arabia, you'll have a great time. I can only fit so many people in this apartment, Jay, so maybe book a hotel. But you'll have a great time. Honestly, we have world-class events here. The country is building and moving. So look, those concerns, I think, are concerns perhaps expressed from information that is either misinformation or perhaps from another time.
Outdated, maybe. Outdated, probably information.
And what we see is a country looking forward, acknowledging its history, though, preserving a lot of the cultural aspects that this country is built on. That doesn't change, but we're seeing, the evolution and, the role of women in this country is massive. My co-host, is a strong woman. We have women all over the building and in big positions all over Saudi Arabia. So by all means, come here and see it for yourself. I'm not just saying it. I see it every day, Jay.
That's beautiful, man. I love to hear that. And I'm wearing the jersey today. Cristiano Ronaldo, my guy, one of my favorite players in any sport of all time. He has been a huge, and I'm going to ask you this in a second, but he was one of those first guys that, and of course he's on, you'd say the back end of his career, but he still looks like he's freaking carved out of freaking granite, that guy. But he made the decision to go to Saudi and not stay in one of the big 5 leagues in Europe. And now we've seen a lot of players go over there and to be able to make a good living. And, you've seen it recently in the Club World Cup and seeing guys like Joao Cancelo and some of these players that, hey, man, that guy was in the Premier League 2 or 3 years ago. And now they're playing there in Saudi Arabia, which I think is really, really cool for the sporting landscape. What kind of impact has Cristiano had there, not just on soccer, but culturally, because he's really went all in?
Yeah, look, I mean, what you have in the Saudi Pro League, don't get me wrong, is a league with tremendous history and tremendous pride. I mean, particularly if you go to a city like Jeddah, which is to the north of the capital where I am tonight, Riyadh, you have 2 very big clubs up there in Jeddah that draw enormous crowds and always have, Al Ittihad and Al Ahly, both huge teams. We see the same in Riyadh with Al Hilal and to some extent with Al Nassr. So there was always a great local history with the Saudi Pro League and local passion. But if you want to talk global brand awareness, yes, Cristiano, an enormous game changer. Over the world, Jay, I'm lucky enough to travel a lot, and I see a lot of these yellow Al Nassr jerseys. And look, I've got to be honest, as much as I've learned about the Saudi Pro League since I got here, I knew nothing about it until I saw those yellow Ronaldo jerseys. Right. He has been tremendous for the awareness of the league. We see those number 7 yellow and blue jerseys. I've seen them as far away as Bali, Indonesia, the United States, in Europe, all over the place. He is a global brand. And, you talk about his new deal that he just signed with Al Nassr for the final 2 years of his career. That even includes equity in this football club. It's a 15% stake in the football club. Now, you're a student of sports. I don't know how many times a player has run onto the field as an owner of a team. Maybe Michael Jordan with the Wizards, in the NBA. Yeah. So that's the sort of rare air that we're in with Cristiano. But he has just turned the Saudi Pro League into an international brand. He made the call a couple of years ago, and everyone said he was crazy. He said, look, if you take PSG out of that French league, I think the Saudi Pro League's better, and I think it goes a little deeper. And everyone thought he was mad. But, Al Hilal's performance in the Club World Cup, making the final 8, beating Manchester City, drawing with Real Madrid, I think it bodes well. And Al Hilal, in fairness, aren't even the best team in the Saudi Pro League this year. They qualified by virtue of the fact they won last year. But we have a team up in Al Ittihad led by Karim Benzema, the French international. They're actually the best team in the Saudi Pro League. Ronaldo's team's only the 3rd best team. So there's a lot happening in the Saudi Pro League. We're seeing another team, Neom, come from the 1st division up to the top flight this year. And of course, Neom is a fascinating project that I urge you to look up. They have a team based up there in the north in a city called Tabuk. There's a lot happening in the Pro League, but we wouldn't be talking about it internationally. You and I wouldn't be having this conversation about the Saudi Pro League if it wasn't for Cristiano, because of course he's bigger than his own club. I mean, quite frankly, he is. I mean, a few athletes, I guess, transcend their organizations. Jordan does spring to mind. Right. And Ronaldo, of course, is one of those as well.
Listen to you, man. Forget about your son. You might be taking my job. Don't be coming over here in this sports background. You're crushed.
I like Florida. I like it a lot,
I know.
actually.
I know. You stay over there in the kingdom, all right, buddy?
All right.
Man, that was great.
For now.
That was for now. Before I let you go, I want to ask you about the other events that are going on, because you know me, I'm a big WWE guy, big boxing guy, big UFC guy.
Yeah.
What about the impact with those? I mean, it just seems like every single time there's an event, it's always top notch, top tier. Everybody always has a good time. Everybody's got smiles on their faces. And we were just talking about the progression and how things have changed. I remember the first event in Saudi for WWE, there wasn't any women on the card at all. And now we've gotten to the point where then it was two women, and now they're having full cards. The Royal Rumble is going to be there. I mean, it's just amazing, the progress. And I think sports and sports entertainment has really helped the progression of the kingdom there. But from what you've seen, WWE, boxing, WWE, boxing, UFC, what kind of impact have you been able to notice in your time there?
Yeah, certainly combat sports is a thing when it comes to the kingdom. We've seen world-class boxing. I was there for Fury and Usyk, both of them. Both times Tyson Fury will tell you he won the fight. He didn't. He's about. In fact, they've promoted the promoter's dream. The trilogy is coming up, but he's already lost 2. So I'm not sure how you can have a trilogy when you've lost the first 2. I was never good at math, Jay, but I don't know that it's a trilogy when you've lost the first 2. Anyway, side note, boxing, huge, big following for UFC. I was at the first ever UFC event in the kingdom last year. I saw our boy Bobby Knuckles, the Australian.
Robert Whittaker, nice.
Which was good fun. Obviously, we have the PFL, which is another mixed martial arts league, doing big things. And then I'll tell you about one event before we finish the call, and it's a timely chat between you and I, Jay. The Esports World Cup is back for its second big year, and it was day 1 today for year number 2. Now, my parents told me to stay off video games, but maybe if they saw these numbers, they might have said otherwise, Jay. Do you know how much money we're playing for in the Esports World Cup? Are you ready?
Oh God, here we go.
$70 million is the prize pool. Okay.
What?
The opening ceremony stars Post Malone, and that's on Thursday night. It's video games inside of arenas, packed arenas. We have a team called the Falcons, who are very famous here in Saudi Arabia. These guys are video gamers that are household names. They do meet and greets. You see the queues, a mile long for selfies. And this is happening in Saudi Arabia. And one of the big reasons, which I find fascinating, don't forget, the Crown Prince, His Highness Mohammed bin Salman, is only 40, and he loves gaming. He's a younger dude that gets this. He gets that gaming isn't just this thing that your parents tell you not to do. He sees the value in gaming and the industry. And of course, it's very hot here. So people like to stay inside during the summer and do things like play video games in the air conditioning. So it's a huge cultural thing, Jay. But the Crown Prince has led this huge push to make Saudi Arabia the global hub for video games and the Esports World Cup. Man, I can't tell you how big it is. So that's just one of many events that are just popping off here in the kingdom. And they're doing it like it's never been done before. There's a lot of investment, there's a lot of passion, and people are showing up, man.
Oh my gosh. So what the games, do we know what games they're playing? I'm trying to look it up real quick.
Yeah, look, you might spend more time than me on
Rainbow
these
Six
games.
Tekken.
I know. No, so, well, Tekken was on last year. Valorant is the first one. I don't know if you play adventure games, but Valorant is a big one. They're playing Call of Duty. COD's a big part of it. There's a bunch of these games. Like, I don't spend a lot of time on video games, but I've looked at the prize pool. I should have, Jay. What are we doing hosting radio and doing these podcast things? We should have been playing our Nintendo 64 or something.
I know, GoldenEye or Super Mario Kart or something like that. I should have paid more attention instead of getting outside. And get outside. That's what my dad would say. Get your head away from those. They're gonna hurt your eyes. And as a guy that wears glasses and a guy that wears contacts, it didn't matter anyway if we played a bunch of video games.
That's a good point, Jay.
At Byron Cooke on all social media platforms. This has been so much fun. We will definitely do this again, my friend. Continue success. You're one of my favorite people to follow, along with everything that you got going over there in the kingdom. I swear, people ask me all the time, where would you go? Where would you want to travel? And for the last 10 to 15 years, I've said Japan. I've always wanted to go to Tokyo. I'm telling you, in the last like 6 weeks, it has become Saudi Arabia. I don't know what it is.
That means a lot.
You've given me the inspiration and everything that's going on.
Please, no, jokes aside, come over. I'll lay out a nice sports trip for us. And I mean that. There's so much happening here. You'd have a great time, man. And you're always welcome. And by the way, the Saudi hospitality is world famous. You won't find more friendly people in the world than the Saudis. Honestly, I've been invited for dinner off the street by complete strangers. And I've said yes, Jay.
Yes. Come on, you're not ashamed, man. You'll do whatever. You always go out and
for a free feed, I'm in. And there's just a lot of hospitality here as well. You'd have a great time, and you're welcome anytime, as is your community.
You're the best. Byron, thank you so much. Continue success, man, and have a great rest of your week. We'll talk soon.
Shukran, my friend. Shukran. Masalama.
You're the best. Unbelievable. I mean, come on. That is what happens right here on the Recher podcast. Those are the kind of interviews. Those are the kind of discussions that we have. My guy, Byron Cooke, all the way out there, morning show, first ever English speaking morning show in the kingdom of Saudi Arabia. And just think about all the different things that we touched on today on that, all the different things, any comments, any concerns that you may have, a lot of that information. And as we're having this conversation, right, I start thinking to myself, right, there's some terrible things that we've heard over the years, but what about some of the terrible things that happen in this country, right? When we see the school shootings, or when we see, what do other countries think about us, right? I'm not going to the U.S., right? There's got to be people out there that feel like that, right? Not making light of anything that's happened. But man, and Byron said it, Titus O'Neil has said it. They're like, Jay, you have to go visit there. So it's definitely something that I'm going to be looking into. I'll probably make a full trip of it, go over there, and then London on the way back, so I get to see some Manchester United stuff. Maybe the end of 2026, the end of 2025 or early 2026. I love that. Love it. Byron's such a great guy. Follow him on all social media platforms at Byron Cooke. What a show that we've had today. Talking about Tyler Johnson with our guy Corey Long. Neil Solondz joining us, talking some Rays baseball. And then, of course, Byron Cooke giving us the breakdown of everything that's going on there in the kingdom of Saudi Arabia. All right. 2 more shows this week for almost the rest of the month. I don't know exactly what the schedule is going to be looking like in the next couple of weeks. I'll figure that out. I'll have that information for you guys tomorrow and Thursday. Friday morning, I leave early in the morning for Hoover, Alabama. The next tournament is here, and it is upon us. Can't wait to be out there, and then also to see my family. And the next week and a half, my little nephew Rio is just about 7 months old, so can't wait to spend a lot of time with him. And to put my Uncle Jay hat on. That should be fun after wearing my coaching hat. The Uncle Jay hat goes on as well. The super chats have been super helpful over the last couple of weeks, including our guy Jeff Taylor. Thank you so much. If you want to contribute to the super chat, $1, $2, $5, $10, $20, every single super chat helps. So please contribute to the program. That's how you're going to help us keep this thing going. Follow me on all social media platforms: Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, TikTok, Instagram. Like and subscribe on YouTube. Our goal is 5,000 subscribers by the end of the year. We're getting closer and closer to 2,000. Again, thank you all for the love and the support. Titus O'Neil hopefully will be joining us possibly tomorrow. We know Mark Topkin's is going to join us on Thursday. We got a call out to Toby Hall, possibly Mark Ramondi from ESPN, to talk about his new NWO book and also what has gone on with the quarterback situation there in Atlanta. I love you all. Thank you so much for the love and the support. We'll see you tomorrow right here at noon on the Recher podcast. I'm gone.